In 2023, the Denver Nuggets finally reached the top of the basketball world. Years of patience, smart drafting, and trusting their core paid off in the biggest way possible. They didn't just win a championship, they dominated. Through the playoffs, they looked unstoppable, controlled, and confident. At the center of it all, it was Nikola Jokic, a player who completely redefined what a superstar looks like. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't loud, but he was surgical. Every pass, every possession, every decision, it felt like he was playing chess while everyone was playing checkers. And then the Nuggets defeated the Miami Heat in the finals. It didn't feel like luck, it felt inevitable, like this was just the beginning. People immediately started asking this question: how many can they win? Because when you looked at the roster, everything made sense. Jamal Murray finally healthy and performing like a true co-star. Aaron Gordon playing the perfect role. Michael Porter Jr. stretching the floor. A deep, connected team that understood exactly how to play together. They weren't just champions, they were built to last. But fast forward to now, and that conversation feels completely different. Because since that 2023 championship run, the Nuggets haven't even came close to getting back to that level. And the biggest question is, what happened? At first, nothing seemed wrong. The team came into the following season with confidence. And why wouldn't they? They had just proven they could beat anyone. There was no reason to believe the formula wouldn't work again. But the NBA doesn't work like that. Winning once is hard. Staying on top is even harder. And slowly, cracks started to show. One of the biggest issues wasn't something that happened on the court. It was what happened around the roster. The Nuggets lost key role players who were critical during their championship run. Guys who didn't always show up in the box score, but made winning plays. Defense, hustle, energy, things that don't always get headlines. And when those pieces left, the depth took a hit. Now, instead of a complete team, Denver started relying more heavily on their stars. And that's where things got complicated. Because while Nikola Jokic continued to play at an MVP level, arguably even better than before, the margin for error got smaller. Every game required more from him, more scoring, more playmaking, more control, and over time, that kind of pressure starts to show. Jamal Murray, who was incredible during the finals run, struggled with consistency. Some nights he looked like a superstar. Other nights he disappeared. Injuries did not help either, keeping him from fully regaining that same rhythm he had in 2023. Michael Porter Jr. remained a scoring threat, but his impact outside of shooting continued to be limited, and when his shots weren't falling, his presence on the court became easier to neutralize. And that's when the reality started to set in. The Nuggets weren't the same team anymore. They were still good, sometimes even great, but they weren't dominant. And in the Western Conference, that difference matters. Because while Denver was trying to hold on to their championship identity, other teams were getting better. Like the Thunder, like the Celtics. Younger teams were rising. Contenders were retooling. The competition didn't stay still, and suddenly, the path back to the finals wasn't clear anymore. The playoffs made that even more obvious. Instead of controlling games the way they did in 2023, the Nuggets started facing real resistance. Teams adjusted. They figured out ways to slow down Denver's offense, to force tougher shots, to exploit their weaker depth. And when games got tight, when adjustments mattered most, Denver didn't always have the answers. That aura that they once had, it was gone. Instead of looking like a team that was expected to win, they started to look like a team trying to prove they still could. And that's a completely different mindset. Another factor that played a huge role was fatigue, not just physically, but mentally. Winning a championship takes everything out of a team. The focus, the intensity, the pressure. It's exhausting. And coming back the next season with that same hunger is one of the hardest things to do in sports. For Denver, it felt like that edge wasn't always there. Not in every game, not in every moment. And in the NBA, small drops in intensity leads to big consequences. The defense slipped, the urgency faded at times, and those little things added up. There's also the reality of expectations. In 2023, the Nuggets were hungry. They were chasing something. They had something to prove. After winning it all, that changed. Now they were the target. Every team brought their best against them. Every game mattered more. Instead of being the underdog, they had to live up to being champions. Some teams thrive in that position, others struggle, and Denver hasn't handled it the way people expected. But here's the part that makes this story even more frustrating. They still have the best player in the world. Nikola Jokic hasn't declined. If anything, he's gotten better. His numbers, his efficiency, his control of the game, it's all still elite. Which raises an even bigger question. How does a team with the best player in the world fall off this much? The answer isn't simple. It's not just one thing. It's depth. It's consistency. It's injuries. It's competition. It's mentality. It's the reality that the NBA moves fast, and if you don't keep improving, you get left behind. Right now, the Nuggets feel stuck between two versions of themselves. They're not the dominant champion they once were, but they're also not a team that can be counted out completely. They're in that uncomfortable middle ground. Good enough to compete, not good enough to control. And unless something changes, whether it's roster moves, eternal development, or a shift in mentality, that gap isn't going to close on its own. Because the truth is, championship windows don't stay open forever. And what once looked like the beginning of a dynasty now feels like it might have been a single moment. A peak. A perfect run where everything came together at the right time. And since then, they've been chasing that same level, without ever fully reaching it again. The fall hasn't been dramatic. It hasn't been a collapse. It's been slower than that. More frustrating. Because you can still see flashes of that 2023 team. Moments where everything clicks. Where the ball moves. The shots fall. And they look unstoppable again. But those moments don't last. And in the NBA, consistency is everything. So now the question isn't just what happened. It's what's next. Can the Denver Nuggets find a way back? Can they rebuild the depth they lost? Can they recapture that hunger? Or will 2023 be remembered as the year everything went right and never quite happened again? Because in a league that never slows down, standing still is the fastest way to fall behind. And right now, the Nuggets are learning that the hard way.